Hey guys, so today is video 2 of the 3-part series, My Journey into the Orthodox Church. Last time I left you, I was talking about foundations and really my childhood journey. Today we're going to be talking about digging deeper once Nolan and I got married, all the way through discovering that the Orthodox Church even existed. So it's going to be a fun ride today. Next video will be on new beginnings. But today I'm really excited to share this with you, so stay tuned.
Too many days in the darkness without a glimpse of the light. Running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never give up the fight. I see you broken and beat, head pulled down over your eyes. Every part of you wants to surrender, but darling, you were meant to survive.
Hey guys, so last time I shared with you the foundations, my childhood story. Today I'm just gonna jump right in where I left off. Nolan and I get married, and that's when I said, my faith kind of shifted just a little bit. Now, Nolan grew up in Colorado, so I had just moved to Colorado. And he grew up at this huge mega church called New Life Church. I say mega church because to me it is. 17,000 people is a mega church. It is crazy big. That's like really he grew up. His dad was a pastoral intern, and that's where he was attending when we met. And so he took me to this thing called Desperation Conference, actually one of the visits that I was out with him, and I really loved it. So if you've never heard of Desperation Conference, New Life Church had this really awesome band called Desperation Band. That was like their worship team, but it was also a band, and they traveled and recorded music and albums. And they partnered with Carrie Job, who is also another famous Protestant worship leader. And they put on this whole weekend of like young adult, college aged, like late high school, college age events. It was a time to come together and like pray and do all these things, but they also put on like this really awesome concert. So he took me to that, and I was like, wow, like my mind was completely blown, and I was just like, oh, my heart literally was like melting into the floor. I was like, this is where I'm meant to be. This is like my purpose in life, is to love God this much. And if you are familiar with the Protestant background, or even maybe what I'm talking about, Hillsong, Desperation, all of these huge bands, you go and you see everybody around you. There's like thousands of people around you, their hands in the air, their eyes closed, and they are like intensely trying to reach God and love God and tell him like, I love you. And absolutely nothing wrong with that. I don't want you to get the wrong impression. For me, that is still just something that I'm like, that is very real. And I don't want to like discourage that at all. But so we were, falling in love with Desperation. We went to New Life on Sundays. There's like multiple services we could choose from. But other than like attending those services, there wasn't really a place that we felt like we belonged. We didn't know how to be Christian outside of Sundays. And we attended this group called The Mill. It was their college age group on Friday nights, and we heard about the lead pastor of The Mill, Aaron Stern. He's like, oh, I'm going to be headed to Fort Collins. We're going to be planting a church up there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking for families or people who would like to join us in planting this church. And Nolan and I were very interested. We were like, yes, that'd be so great to be there from the ground up and to really like reach a community and like be there for all of it. When you're part of 17,000 person community, it's hard to find a group. There's a lot of small groups, and you almost have like option shock. And so it's like, ooh, this chance to like start over and have this really like close-knit community, and it's just going to be wonderful and great. Long story short, we did end up going to Fort Collins, which is where we live now, northern Colorado. We helped plant Mill City, which was a year-long journey. We were part of like all of these different teams, so they called it the Lift Team. And we just got to be part of like this insider like we had the insider journey of helping plant a church and like seeing all these new people and welcoming them in. We actually led a small group that was not so small. We had about 80 people on our roster, which we just did in our home, and that was a lot of fun. We had multiple small groups throughout our time at Mill City. But while we were there, we had just had the 2 miscarriages when we were still at New Life, and so now this was our period where we were really struggling with our infertility. And there wasn't a ton of guidance on that. It was just like, you know, a lot of people like, maybe you guys should adopt. So we looked into adoption, and that's when we decided that we were going to pursue an international adoption, which is a whole journey within itself. That could be a whole nother video about what that looks like. But we ended up choosing Bulgaria, which is an Eastern European country. It's a little small country. It's very beautiful. But they are an Orthodox country, which we didn't even know what Orthodoxy was. So we're like, what does an Orthodox country mean? But our journey through the adoption, we were, you know, also really struggling in our faith. We were like, we don't know where we belong. We don't know how to, like I said, be Christian outside of Sunday mornings. We were having our small groups, and our small group really just looked a lot like, what does this mean? How do we live? How do we overcome sin? How do we pray? Like, we just had so many answers. And when it's amplified by 80 different opinions and voices who are honestly all struggling with the same thing, it's just like, it's a little bit like, I don't really know what to do. Like, maybe we just keep praying the best we can. We keep pursuing God the best we can. And when we were looking to leaders, they too were like, we don't really know the answer, but this is how best we think that you could do this, how best we think that you should live. Like, read this book, do this devotional. But for Nolan and I, so this is a personal feeling, so I don't want to I would just put that out there. It felt very shallow. Honestly, our faith it kept getting shallower. The more we pushed and tried to find deeper answers, it was like, I'm just confused on what's going on right now in my life. And that was a really difficult place to be and live. So simultaneously, all this is going on while we're pursuing this adoption, where it's like, we really need to have a strong base in community and faith and all of this, because this is also really hard. And we had a great group of friends around us who were rallying together and praying over us and everything. But still, it was just a really hard place to be in. So we were looking at adopting a little blind boy. And so we're like, oh my goodness, he's not gonna understand what's going on when we bring him home. So we need to learn Bulgarian. That way we can at least talk to him when he's on the plane and tell him what's going on. So Nolan was able to find, I don't even know how he found this girl, but basically she needed English lessons and was willing to kind of do a trade. So we would just talk to her and trade. Well, Nolan, being the good evangelical that he was like, hey, are you Christian? And she was like, yeah, I'm Orthodox. And he was like, I don't know what Orthodox, he didn't say this to her, but he was thinking I don't know what Orthodoxy is, but I need to go figure it out so I can tell her hey, this is some funny business you're involved in. So yeah, then he starts looking for Orthodox things. Also, simultaneously, while this is going on, we have a new small group that we're kind of discussing Calvinism. Nolan's really digging deep into what that looks like. And I can't remember what he was talking about one day, but I was like, look, if that's the God you worship, that's fine, but I don't want nothing to do with that, because the God that I know and the God that I want to worship is a God of love and not hate. And so I was very anti-Calvinism, just because it felt so different. It didn't feel right to me. And so he's like, okay, well, we're gonna stop this path then. And that's kind of when he jumped headfirst into figuring out what Orthodoxy was. And so he couldn't find anything online, partially because obviously the terms between a Protestant church and Orthodox church are very different. So he didn't really know what he was looking for. but he was able to Google Orthodox churches and found St. Spiridon, which is the church that we attend now. And he, got connected with Father Evan, and he just started talking to Father Evan. He started attending some few like weekday services and Vesper services, which I wanted absolutely nothing to do with. I was like, you go do your little like thing over there. I'm just gonna keep doing Mill City. I'm happy over here. I have all my friends. Like, life is great. And next thing I know, Nolan's like coming home with new prayer routines and a prayer rope, and he has all these icons. I can remember being like, Nolan, you gotta lay those icons down. I don't want to see them. It just, at the time I was like freaked out. Like, I do not know what is going on. I literally was like, my marriage is falling apart. Like, that sounds a little dramatic, but at the time I really thought that, because I was like, we are on two separate like tracks right now, and this is not good. Like, people who are not in the same faith, it's not good for them. So that's where I'm gonna end today's episode. I know it's a long one, it's really funny, but I hope that you enjoyed it. Join us the next time for new beginnings and what that looked like. So hope you have a great day.